right, so I've got Christian here with me again today. Thank you so much for your help this week. We're going to start with the basic push-ups. So you'll notice that I actually have the mat going across. He's going to actually do a push-up. Just get into your position. You don't have to pop up yet. So this is how he's going to do it. The reason I did this was because he needs to have his hands a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. You want essentially your hands to be splayed out on a push-up. And I want direct point of contact between the upper part of the hand, the palm, and the lower part of the palm. And I'm going to coach Christian through this to spread his fingers really wide and really push his hand nice and flush against the ground. There should be no curve or anything here. You'll see, try push-up at home. You might notice that you've got a little arch in your hand. That means you're not set up properly. So let's go ahead, Christian. Go ahead and set up for me. And we're going to give a couple variations. So I'm going to work with him now on this. So I'm checking his finger position. Head and neck is neutral. Good. Now I'm actually going to try and pull this up. So see, a little gap here, Christian. Close that space. We got to reposition. Reposition. Good. Hop up through your chest. Good. Let's see what we got. Good. I know that. Better. Push down. Push right into here. Push right into here. Push right into there. Good. Push right into here. Okay, now we got him set up, head and neck neutral. He's going to give me his first rep. Go ahead all the way down. Squeeze the scapula, pop right back up. Okay, one more. All the way down, squeeze the scapula, pop right back up. Good. Let's do one more. Squeeze, pop right back up. Good. Pause. Okay? That is the standard push-up. We can modify this if it feels too intense. Let's just do a kneeling push-up. So if you're not strong enough to do full body weight, essentially, is that okay on your knees?
Yep.
Okay. So he's now got a straight line from his shoulder to his knee running through his hip. Let your hips come down just a little bit. Good. Chest is up. Good. Set that same wide position up with the fingers. Okay. Rotate in. Good. So let's demonstrate that. Same thing. Good. All the way up. As he comes down, I want him to squeeze his shoulder blades together. So I'm actually coaching him. Try and pinch my finger between your shoulder blades. All the way down. All the way down. Do a couple more. The height is about fist height to the ground. So I should be able to put my fist down here, and he should be able to make contact with that. And that is your standard push-up setup and adjustment for strength. That can go right to the knees if you're not as strong, and you can eventually work up to an elevated push-up, which we'll show you here in a second. Okay, so let's look at a modification from the kneeling push-up. If you're working up your strength, you might not be ready for a full push-up on your hands and your feet. You're going to need an intermediary. And this actually is a little bit more of a decline push-up, which would be a variation, a little bit lower. Not that too much of a difference, not that big of a difference, but you'll see that he is a little bit lower with his hand position. We grab this box. Now this box is really nice because it's actually about the width of where he needs to press from. But you may have a table, a bed, a nightstand, something at your house that you might be using to do this. So normally, Christian, let's show them what that would look like if it was a tabletop. Your wrist position would be set up like this. Now, if this is uncomfortable, we have a couple modifications, whether it's on the floor or not. So Christian on this one's just going to go on the outside because he can adjust that. But Christian, do me a favor. Let's just show fists, which I know is less comfortable. No, go up onto like that.
Oh, this.
Yeah, so what we did was, now this is a little bit more pressure on his fist. This would be a progression, but does that feel better on your...
Yeah.
A little bit, right? Now, pause for a second, come on back down. You'll notice that we're trying to neutralize his wrist in the event that he's got a wrist injury. What does that perfectly that we don't have here at our facility is, what do we call those? The push-up stands, or the perfect push-up. They're basically allow you to hold onto a bar that keeps the wrist straight. Some people may complain or have a little discomfort here if they actually do the standard position. So those push-up bars or push-up stands exist, and you might want to grab something like that off Amazon or a sporting goods store if you're noticing some discomfort. All right, so Christian's going to go into this position. Now you notice he's got that straight line, head is going to come up nice and neutral. That's more comfortable on the wrist. Yeah. So now there's not much of his weight over his upper body. So go ahead and do your push-up. Good. Squeeze your shoulder blades, come on back up. Come all the way down, squeeze shoulder blades together, and push all the way through. All the way up, open those shoulder blades. Good. Come on back down. Good. Pause. So less of his body weight is now in the push-up, so it's a little bit easier to do. Would you say that's a little bit easier for you? Yeah, okay, great. Okay, so we're gonna work through a couple push-up variations that you might be able to use at your house, assuming you're strong enough to be on the floor doing your push-up. So Christian's gonna come up into this is gonna be a push-up with movement. He's gonna do some hand switching, or position his hands a little bit differently each and every time. So Christian's gonna go into his push-up, everything's set up, nice and stable here, his fingers are spread apart. He's gonna do one push-up, he's gonna come up, he's gonna move to his right, or his left. That works too, he's gonna go down again. Good, he's gonna come back up, and then he's gonna do one more. Perfect, and pause. So you can see with that one, we're adding just a little bit of movement, but just enough to all of a sudden make that push-up a heck of a lot harder. And you want to try one more with the foot position. All right, so now we're going to add feet movement with the hand movement. So instead of going, he was keeping his feet pinned, you're going to see he's going to move his whole body one way or the other. So let's go ahead and do one push-up. And now he's come up, move, yep, come on up, move across. There you go, and come on back down. And good, pause. So you see we added some foot movement. Now the reality is Christian could do a circle. If he's in his living room, he could traverse around the floor. You can actually add a heck of a lot of movement with this exercise, as this sort of variation just adds a bit of complexity because you have to now recruit and move, which is a little bit more neurologically demanding. Good? Yeah. Okay. So next we're going to do elevation change. So I've got two yoga blocks here. You could use, heck, a book, a couple books, a step. And what I'm going to have him do is I'm going to actually have him start, why don't you start one hand up and one hand down. So it's an offset. One hand's going to be on the floor. Put one, yep, that's fine so they can see.
Well, and also because then I can be off.
Yep, perfect. Okay. So he's going to start with one hand on the floor, one hand elevated. He's going to do one push-up. He's going to come on back up. And he's going to switch his hand position. And right back down. Good. And now, good, pause. We can do this ad nauseum. I could say, all right, both hands up, both hands down. I could actually coach him through a variety of different options there, which requires him to think through this challenge. Doing okay? Yeah. All right, we're going to do two more while we're on the roll here. So the next one is going to be what we call a Spider-Man push-up. He's got to remember this one. All right, so Christian's going to get set up in his push-up position. Okay, he's going to draw one knee in as he goes all the way down, keeping an eye on the scapula. Squeeze those shoulder blades together as you come down. Good, and then back up. Let's do the other leg. Perfect. See if you can get that right knee all the way up to the left elbow, and open that hip as far as you can. Come on back, go down. Get this leg up. There. Keep that hip down. Good, and back up. One more on this side. Good, and back up. Good, relax. So we saw that. More challenging, yeah? Yeah. Okay, so more challenging. We're working on it. I'm going to try and give him a second here as I talk. The more appendages that you incorporate, the more movement you incorporate, the different the pattern is for the brain. It becomes very demanding on the nervous system to now re-coordinate all of these movements. You may be at home saying, I can do a ton of push-ups. I can crank out 100 push-ups. Great. Now it's time to add some variation because you have mastered that pattern, and it's time to continue your progression in your overall performance by tweaking your push-ups slightly. Now we certainly could add weight to him. I could just put a sandbag or a weight on his back. That's a sort of a standard way of doing that. When we do bench pressing and things like that, that's pretty typical. But this allows a lot of creativity and fun. It really is. What can you come up with as long as the scapula still do their job and they still have good hand contact with the ground and their form is fine? It's all up to you what you can come up with. All right, last one we're going to do is called a scorpion push-up. And Christian kind of knows this, so I'm going to actually coach him through this. So standard push-up position. Spread those fingers apart for me. Keep the pressure. Make sure we get 3 points of contact. Now as he comes down, I want him to bring his back leg, your heel is going to come over here. Okay? Yep, as you come down. I really want you to try and reach for my hand with that right heel. Okay, so all the way down, bring that leg across. Oh, there we go, right back down. Do the same thing with the left, the other leg. Good, one more. Come all the way over, all the way over. Hit my hand, find my hand. Find it, there, and back up. Pause. How was that? That sucked. But you also get a lot more core demand, right? Again, we're recruiting, changing the pattern, and now the body has to figure out, how do I stabilize? How do I prevent myself from falling? Because we took the moment a hand or a foot comes off, it destabilizes, so you should feel a lot more core engagement when you do some of these variation push-ups that require you to take a hand or a foot off the floor. So have some fun, try these at home. And if you're not quite good enough to do these just yet, go to elevation and you should be fine, and eventually you'll get there to the point where you can do these.